Okay. Hari Om to everyone. I'm Swami Abhishek Chaitanya, and I'm speaking to you from Rishikesh this evening. And the topic of discussion is absolute freedom. When translated to Sanskrit, that would mean moksha. So we are going to discuss this a little bit based on the text by Swami Vidyaranya. A line from that text will be the basis and will elaborate on this idea, the concept of moksha. So we will begin this evening's session now with a prayer of invocation, what we call as Mangalacharan. So those who can, please say the prayer along, and those who do not know the prayer can simply sit with your eyes closed. And here we begin. Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Hadevamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmanibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartabhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarahitaha Prajanagana Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Vedantartha vibhasakaya gurave Shantaya sannyasine Nanavadi nagendra sanghapavaye Yogindra vandyaya cha Mohadvantarivākarāya bhagavatpādabhidham vibhrate Tasmai bhāshyakrite namostu satatam Purnāya bodhātmane. The accomplished human life is seen by the Veda as the Purushartha, or whatever is accomplished, sought after by a human being is called as Purushartha. Purushena arthyate iti Purushartha. That whatever is sought by a human being is called as Purushartha. We see that the Veda recognizes 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. These are the four Purusharthas. Generally explaining, we would say seeking security and seeking pleasure is Artha and Kama Purushartha. But along with that, doing things or even accomplishing Artha and Kama through righteous means is the Dharma Purushartha. And finally, seeking liberation is the Moksha Purushartha. When we are saying a person seeks Artha, which is security, and seeks Kama, which is pleasure, also seeks a life, a continuity of life without suffering, then that is the Dharma Purushartha. If we observe what exactly is being pursued or what exactly is being asked, what exactly is being sought after, we will understand that seeking security or seeking pleasure, its deeper implication would be that we are seeking freedom from insecurity. We are seeking freedom from the sense of displeasure. So seeking pleasure or seeking security is also, in a way, seeking freedom. When one says that he is seeking a life, a better life hereafter, a good life hereafter, which is the result of dharma, of the punya, over there too, the person is seeking freedom from suffering, etc. Na tatra jaraya na vibheti, where the suffering of old age, etc., is not felt, and therefore Dharma Purushartha is also seeking freedom. So through and through all these Purusharthas, a person is seeking freedom. Seeking freedom from insecurity, seeking freedom from displeasure, seeking freedom from general suffering. A person is seeking freedom, and therefore the search for freedom is the most intrinsic search in every human being. This pursuit, this search for freedom, is the basis of Purushartha. Moksha, the word moksha by itself is suggestive of the idea that it means liberation, freedom. It comes from the dhatu much, to free oneself from the bandhana, to free oneself from the bondage. So moksha is seeking the freedom, is that freedom. And when we say moksha purushartha, it means seeking freedom. All these purusharthas, when are categorically seen as a search for freedom, whether one is searching for, that's why first and foremost, we have to understand when our lives are complicated, are preoccupied with our pursuits of security, with our pursuits of pleasure, a person rarely has this leisure, rarely has this privilege to pause for a moment and look at life, ask the question, what exactly he wants. I want money, I want property, I want insurance, I want emotional assurance, security. Even I want power, I want position. These are all different ways a person is looking for security. Take for example, if a person is seeking security through money, and the question is asked how much money means, how much wealth means security, one does not have an answer. Because no amount of money can ever be called a security. So no amount of enjoyments can really be called as being pleased. All these are then what? Not knowing that one is truly seeking freedom from the sense of insecurity. Even when one wants to please himself through the indulgence of senses or through the delights of heart, when one listens to a poetry, looks at a painting, it is just not a sensual indulgence. It is a delight of the heart. It is Artha Purushartha. You are seeking pleasure but pleasing yourself. One wants to please oneself because one finds that he is not sufficiently pleased. He wants freedom from the sense of displeasure, from the sense of being displeased, or even the idea that he may be displeased. Therefore, freedom is the basic movement behind all these purusharthas. When we are saying moksha, which means liberation, and it means absolute freedom, having had which there is not going to be the sense of insecurity, having had which there is not going to be the sense of being displeased. And therefore Bhagavad Gita says, Yalla, even the Upanishad says, Yallabha na paro labha. There is no greater gain than this. Because if there is anything greater than it, more than it, it means that whatever you have had, you are left with a sense of lack again. Where there is no sense of lack, where there is no inadequacy, whether you are going to call it in terms of security or pleasure, where there is no sense of inadequacy, where the sense of limitation does not bother, then that is the Moksha Purushartha. One more thing that I will like to say about it here is that we often very loosely use the term moksha, liberation, and salvation together. Salvation and liberation does not mean the same. Liberation means freedom, and salvation means that someone is going to come and save you being saved. They are altogether different. Some God is going to descend, some prophet is going to descend, and then you will be saved. That is salvation. And liberation means that you will be free. There is no dependence over here. Because if there is dependence, then it won't be freedom. The factor which was making you free, if that factor is absent, then once again you will be in bondage. And therefore salvation and liberation are not synonymous on the darshanik or the philosophical background. They are altogether different. Here we are talking about liberation. Yallabha paro labha. That freedom, having had which no sense of inadequacy ever lands on you. No sense of incompleteness is found in your being, which means there is total contentment, which means it is absolute fulfillment. And this is what one is seeking. Knowingly or unknowingly, this is what one seeks. When a person is seeking this unknowingly, then the person is throwing the darts in dark. He does not know what he really wants because he simply wants freedom, and freedom from every sense of inadequacy, every sense of limitation, freedom from suffering, and absolute freedom from suffering. You cannot say that I want freedom from suffering, but suffering in only one particular way. The other way I can retain. Nobody wants it. Everybody wants their life to be accomplished, to be fulfilled. Everyone wants to see that he is absolutely content, totally fulfilled. And therefore, moksha, according to the Shastra, is the ultimate Purushartha. It is just not ultimate I would add one more, and I would say it is the real. It is the real Purushartha. When you imagine that you will have freedom from insecurity with money, then it is not absolute. It is not absolute because that money will give you certain freedom, but you will also be acutely aware of the other limitation which that money has brought. When you have 100 rupees, you are going to seek 1,000 rupees. So when you have 1,000 rupees, you are free from the inadequacy which the 100 rupees was showing. You are definitely free from the inadequacy of the 100 rupees. But now you see that 1,000 rupees is not sufficient. There is next destination, 1 lakh rupees. You want it, and therefore what you have is not sufficient. Thus, though it gives you freedom from inadequacy of 100 rupees, but at the same time it makes you aware of the inadequacy which is still further there, and therefore no amount of money is really going to bring you the sense of security. The sense, no amount of pleasures are really going to please you, because it cannot give you the freedom from the displeasure, the self that you find is displeased. Furthermore, what you want is freedom from the displeased self. What you want is the freedom from the insecure self. I don't want to find myself insecure. I don't want to find myself displeased. So I want to find myself free from this self, but by the virtue of you being that very self, how can you be free from it? And therefore, how would it be possible? How would it ever be possible to free yourself from yourself? Here steps in Vedanta. And Vedanta says, the self which you are finding as inadequate and the self which you want to find as being adequate, complete. So there is no distance between these two. And you are going to say, how do you say that there is no distance? One self is the one which is inadequate, and the other one is the one which is adequate. How then could we have the same thing? How can we call both of them as same? Obviously, when the differences are so blatant, how can it be the same? We are saying that it has to be same, because if the self is not the self, then what you are going to find is not you yourself. You cannot lose yourself and then discover another self Because even when you are going to discover another self, you have to be present in the process of discovery. So in that process of discovery, you are not lost. When you are not lost, how could you find? Because that whole finding becomes meaningless. Therefore, there has to be something which is now to be understood. Vedanta says that this completeness of the self that one is seeking, the freedom from incompleteness, the freedom from limitation, the freedom from inadequacy that one is seeking as himself, and it cannot be other than you. If something is other than you which is complete, then it has got no consequence for you. It has got no meaning for you. Something can be complete, something can be good, but it may be complete, but how does it matter to you? How does it matter to you that whatever that you are imagining may be complete? And therefore, if someone is saying that completeness is something other than your own being, then you are other than your own self, then that whole proposal becomes totally meaningless. Some God can be there sitting in the heaven who is complete, and that God may be free from insecurity, and that God may be free from the sense of displeasure. But how does it matter to you? Even if you find that God, you still are going to remain limited, small, as what you were and what you are. So having found a God who is complete and who is fulfilled, how is it going to make you complete and make you fulfilled? And therefore the proposal that something that is other than yourself is complete just is too absurd, is absurd. Vedanta understands this problem, and Vedanta already has given us the solution, saying that this Atma itself is complete. It cannot be anything other than your own being. It has to be you. And that what is complete has to be you. And your problem is that how can I be complete? Because I am seeking completeness. Had I to be complete, I would not have been seeking. The very fact that I am seeking is not that a good declaration that I am incomplete. At the most, you can say that I will become complete. I will be fulfilled. That seems to be a little acceptable thing. But you are saying that I am, Vedanta is saying that you are already complete. How can that be possible? Is that ever possible? And we say yes. This is possible. And not only this is possible, this is the fact of your presence. Because when one does not know, not knowing means ignorance. Technically we call it as avidya. That ignorance projects, has got the capacity to project something that is not there. Ignorance can project something which is totally opposite, vivarta. It can. The snake is not there because it is rope. Rope is not the snake, but not knowing it is a rope. Now the snake is seen, the snake is experienced. It has the capacity, ignorance has the capacity. So also not knowing that Atma is Brahman, not knowing, I'm not even saying that you have to experience or you will experience. Vedanta does not say anything like that. Vedanta is saying that you have to know. Therefore, even all your ideas of you experiencing Brahman, you experiencing God, are washed off over here. They have no stand. They have no substance here. Not knowing has got only one solution, and that is to know. Knowledge, when is clear, is called as the firm knowledge. And clarity means where there is no doubt, where there is no viparyaya, contradiction. So the knowledge which is free from samshaya viparyaya is the knowledge. So knowing Atma as Brahman, which that knowledge does not have, the knowledge, this knowledge would not have any samshaya or viparyaya, doubts, etc., is the knowledge. And when this knowledge rises, the ignorance is gone. Going of that ignorance, destruction, eradication of that ignorance is where you find that this is what you are, what you always were. What you are seeking is yourself. And because the self which is seeking is that what is sought, the seeker is the sought. And therefore there is no seeker because he is what is sought. And there is nothing which is sought because that itself is the seeker. This duality, this distance, this disparity, this bheda is totally gone. And in going of it is finding that freedom, the freedom which is absolute freedom. And when I'm saying absolute, it means in which there is not even a trace, a lingering scent of suffering. And therefore, it is absolute freedom. Thus, there are few things to be understood over here. A, that moksha is a purushartha. B, moksha is ultimate purushartha, and in fact the real purushartha. The one who understands the place of this pursuit, human pursuit in life, now will seek it. And how is this moksha to be sought? What else other than Vedanta can tell you? There is nothing that could ever have the capacity, because it is not something which can be simply had by someone sitting under a tree or on a mountain top somewhere. The instruction from the teacher. Therefore, Bhagavan Shri Krishna also says that Arjuna, this is what is required. Tad vidhi pradipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. Going to that tattvajna, the one who knows the reality, the one who knows the truth, he will instruct you. Which means that Bhagavan is endorsing the idea that it is a knowledge, it is a parampara, the tradition of knowledge. Having had this knowledge, the only thing which is required now is to remove the doubts, remove the contradictions from this knowledge. When the contamination is removed, the water is pure. When the contamination of the doubts and contradiction is removed, the knowledge is knowledge. And therefore, when we are saying jnana nishtha, firm abidance in knowledge, etc., it means greater the degree of clarity, that itself will be called as abidance in knowledge. Abidance in knowledge is not something that you staunchly hold on to like some crab holding on to some rock or something. No. When you hold on to something, that means it is insecurity. That itself is insecurity. You hold on to something. Over here, holding on to any idea, any concept is not meant as abidance. Abidance in knowledge is simply this clarity. Greater the degree of clarity, firmer will be abidance. And thus, this knowledge, because knowledge alone is opposed to ignorance, there is nothing else that can remove the ignorance. No amount of your staunch believing is going to do anything to the ignorance. No amount of you jumping up and down, going to heaven or hell, is going to remove the ignorance, because the only thing which removes the ignorance is knowledge. Therefore, accomplishment of the moksha purushartha means knowing that this Atma is complete. The self is complete. I am a man, I am a woman. I am the doer, I am the experiencer. These are all the premises which are never ever questioned by us. Ask a question, is this the reality of the self? Is this what is the meaning of word I? I am a boss, I am a subordinate, I am a husband, I am a wife. These are all acquired labels. When you are able to shed these labels away, throw them away as useless, this strength is the strength on which the knowledge can be had. If one does not have this strength, then that knowledge, the Atma, also is not gained. Upanishad says, Nayam Atma Balahinena Labdhya, is not found by those who do not have this Bala, the strength. Therefore, friends, this is Moksha, means absolute freedom. And that freedom, this freedom, absolute freedom from suffering, etc., is not something, a different state which you are going to attain. It is not some location where you are going to reach. It is not a property which you are, some sort of property, some sort of attribute which you are going to develop. It is not a skill which you are going to sharpen. It is nothing of this sort, because it is you. The one who is seeking is that what is sought. Seeing this is liberation. Knowing this is liberation. And we say, this is the absolute accomplishment, the final accomplishment of life. Because it means you have found that you are complete. And therefore there is nothing more to be sought, nothing more to be removed. There is nothing heya, there is nothing upadeya. All that remains is your pure being. How does this man of absolute fulfillment function in the world? It is a different issue. What does he do after knowing that is a different issue. But yes, this is what is liberation. Thus, over here, Sri Vidyaranya Swami then says, may that teacher bless me with this knowledge, the knowledge in which I will know, I can know that Atma is Brahman, is Purnam, is complete. This he says in his work called Brahmavida Ashirvada. So friends, my prayers, even at the feet of the teacher, that may all have this light of the knowledge Let this knowledge, let this light be the guiding factor. Let it stand as a lighthouse, guiding your ship in the stormy night to arrive in the safety of the harbor. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vibhaji. And thanks to the Fawai team who are helping us come together so that this knowledge can be shared. Thank you all.
Enjoyed listening to you once again.
It was very nice, Swamiji.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think there's a question here by Geeta Narji, I think. She has a raised hand.
Okay. Wait a minute, please. Wait a minute. Okay, here. Okay. How do I go? Can Vibhaji, can you please tell me what the question is? Because
we'll have to unmute her. We'll try to unmute. Well, I don't know what has happened. Ranjini, can you unmute her? I cannot unmute her.
Yeah, neither me actually. I cannot do it. I think you have to go to the attendees tab and.
No, that's true. I'm doing that only, but I don't think that is getting unmuted.
I think Swamiji has to do that. Yeah. Oh no, she has taken off her hand. Right.
No, that I did it. That I did it.
Oh, you did that? Okay.
Yeah, we cannot unmute her. Otherwise, both the things we can do. Any of us can do.
Okay.
Geetaji, can you hear us? You can write it on the question pen.
It was nice knowing about the difference between the salvation and the liberation, Swamiji. I had not thought about that. I knew about that earlier. Very nice. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Swamiji, then we'll wind up.
Yes, please.
Pranam, Swamiji.
Pranam, Vibhaji. Pranam. Please convey my pranams to Puja Swamiji also.
Sure, sure. Definitely. Pranam, Swamiji. We'll see you soon.
Ji.